So very warmly welcome everybody to this webinar or slash workshop, I would call it. Filipa, who is hired as our project manager, will present the main ideas and plans in the project so far. But I thought that before I pass the word over to her, I have a few things I just want to underline first. This project is about the future. It's about us getting ready for the next round, to speak. We want to take action now to ensure that we are mobilized and able to take all the next steps possible from our side to get medicines developed quickly as possible. In one of our previous webinars about ongoing clinical trials with some of HD COPE team members, we touched upon in the discussion, when is the right time to start treatment for people with Huntington's disease? As the disease is progressing many years before symptoms are experienced, it makes sense to treat early, even before visible or clear symptoms can be observed. And that's what's new here in relation to what we have done so far. In this project, we will focus on people who are at risk or pre-symptomatic. I also want to be aware of, before you get more information about the project, about three kind of, I would say, fundamental prerequisites or truths, assumptions we have when we started this work. The first one is that the HD community has done a tremendous effort so far. Family members have been stepping up, volunteered to take part in studies, be subjected to treatments, responded to surveys, and so on and so on. In short, people have been extremely supportive, and this takes effort, time, and energy. It's not self-evident. The second truth for us is, or what we think is really important, is that people who are at risk or pre-symptomatic have other needs than people who have developed symptoms. Pre-symptomatic are not sick, and consequently they are not patients. The third truth for us is that we feel that it's us, the HD community, we are the only ones who can do this right. And we have to do it. And I hope now that you are really wondering, what the heck is she talking about? What is this project about? Because Filipa will tell you very, very soon. I just wanted to let you know that there are pitfalls in this work, and we need to do everything we can to avoid them and make sure that we don't go out like missionaries and convincing people to sign up to do things that is not right for them. We need to get it right in the sense that this project is about having people take well-informed decisions and do the choices that are right for them at the right point in time. And this is so important for us as a basis, and really also what should inform our discussion later on. But now, Filipa, please tell us, what is this project about? Where are we so far?
So good evening to you all, those familiar faces and not familiar faces. I hope you are all well in this crazy world right now. So as Astri already explained, this webinar or workshop, if you want, will talk about this new project of the European Huntington Association called Moving Forward. The long title is Towards a Future with Effective Disease-Modifying Treatments for Huntington's Disease. But to keep it simple, we'll call it Moving Forward. And so what this project wants is to help HD families to get involved in drug development. As it has been clear to the EHA that effective therapies for HD cannot be developed without a strong, long-lasting commitment from patients and families. So only by doing this can progress occur. So during this webinar or workshop, We want to present the reasons, the rationale, the background behind this project. We want to explain to you the reasons why we think it's relevant to do this work right now. And we also want to hopefully get your precious input about the best ways to address the challenges and the obstacles that we are going to talk about. Only a small note before we start. So you can find the links to all the information during the webinar in really, really small letters. But again, this will be recorded, so you can pause and zoom in. So in small letters below the main information of the slide. So if you want, so you can do further readings about some of the topics that we are going to discuss. So right now, I want to try to share my screen with you. So everyone is seeing this?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So as Astri said, and we can say that great progress has been achieved in Huntington's disease in the last years. And we can say also that the European HD community is in a better place right now than it was, for example, 1 decade or 2 decades ago. So what I'm going to start is to show you by showing you some of the main achievements that we were able to do over the last years. And the first of all is that today we can see that patients and families are now more aware, interested, and well-informed than ever about ongoing trials and future clinical studies across Europe. The European Huntington Association has been actively involved in several initiatives to make this happen. And some of these initiatives are here on this slide. So we have the Stronger Together project, many of you know. So this was a 3-year project developed by the European Huntington Association between 2016 and 2019. And this project focused on better connecting and informing the HD community about research. And these included actions not only at a European level, but also country-specific actions, such as HD weeks in Russia or Bulgaria. For example, this photo that you can see here in the upper part of the screen was taken in Russia during the HD week. Another initiative of the EHA is the HD Trial Finder. So this is a platform that the EHA developed to make it easier for people to find out more about ongoing HD trials and studies in Europe. So in this platform, you are able to learn more about the trials, where they are taking place, what is being studied, and whether it's possible for you to enroll or participate in the trial. So this HD Trial Finder is currently available in English. I think also a German version is being prepared, and for sure more languages will be on in the future. Another initiative that shows that HD community is more aware, interested, and well-informed is the HD COPE task force that as Astri mentioned, we had a webinar some weeks ago about this, and you should check it out on the EHA site. So HD COPE stands for Huntington's Disease Coalition for Patient Engagement. And this is a global task force created by the European Association, the Huntington's Disease Society of America, and the Huntington Society of Canada. So the idea was to give HD families and HD representatives a direct and impactful voice in HD clinical research. As I said, please have a look at the webinar because you will learn more things about this important project. And finally, the EHA also has been organizing regular meetings between HD families and HD professionals, not only at a national level, but also at a European level, with a big European meeting every 2 years. And we are hoping to do it in 2021 despite all this crazy situation. Let's see if this will be possible. A second big achievement is that there was a significant increase in the number of people participating in research and in the speed of recruitment of participants to take part in research over the last years. If we look at Enroll HD, so this is a worldwide observational study run by CHZI that many of you know and many of you probably participate in. So we see that there was a significant increase in the number of participants over the last 4 years, from around 11,000 in 2016 to almost double 4 years later, so around 20,000 in 2020. And of this number, more than 50% of these participants were from European countries, so that's a lot. Furthermore, if we look at the successful trials, such as the Roche Generation HD1 trial, we see that the recruitment was extremely fast, was done at a record high pace, and that the first study findings and results were quickly published and disseminated. So this is encouraging and indicates that the situation is changing. Another or a third big achievement directly related to the previous slide is that there has been a great progress in terms of number of HD studies that are going on and also in the ways of spreading the word about them. If we take the example of HD Buzz, which is a fantastic project that is written by HD specialists and scientists that wants to disseminate HD research news in plain language to the global HD community. So if we look at this example of HD Buzz and we look at their statistics, they are really impressive. So they have 500,000 visits worldwide. And of these visits, 32% are from European readers. So the message is passing by, is reaching people, which is good. Another example of this great progress in the number of studies is reflected by the number of papers about HD that are found in PubMed. So PubMed is one of the main search platforms for scientific literature. And so if you do a search in this search engine or platform, and you search for HD in titles or abstracts of studies, you see there is a steady increase in the number of papers published about HD over the last 20 years. So from 390 in 2000 to more than 1,000 in 2015. And these are only the studies that were published in reference journals or books. Of course, there are many, many more studies that are going on and don't appear here because they were not published. So this is also important. And finally, the last and extremely important achievement of the last years is the increasing number of new compounds and therapies that are being developed and clinically tested or soon to be in Huntington's disease. And this scenario is extremely exciting and is even more exciting if you think that many of these clinical trials have had the patient input, patient representatives input in their planning and design. So the patient's voice was heard and the trials and studies were designed according to their suggestions. And this we think can be a big factor to facilitate the success of these studies. So these are all very good news, big achievements, but the thing is, despite all these achievements that we have put here and that have brought us to a better place for sure than we were some years ago, the job is not done yet. So we need to keep moving and go further. And so the next slides, on the next slides, I'm going to explain to you some of the reasons why we have to keep moving and why the job is not done yet. So the following numbers can shake a little bit our optimism and give us several warning signs. These numbers were taken from the Enroll HD website, so they are from a reliable source, which is important when we are talking about this. So there are statistics saying that the average drug study, in the average drug study, 2/3 of the sites don't enroll enough patients. Other statistics show that more than 2,000 patients are needed for each new drug or new successful drug that is discovered. Moreover, due to delays with recruiting patients, half of clinical trials take much longer than they were supposed to. And the last sentence says that the average drug takes more than 8 years to test. And 8 years is really a lot, especially if we're talking about a progressive disease such as HD, where time really matters. So the main message here is that it seems that there are still several quests for the HD community in the near future, especially in terms of time and in terms of numbers. So at the moment, the biggest challenge seems to be to find enough of the right people to join up in clinical studies and trials. And all this needs to be done at the right time, so in the right time frame. So to understand what is at stake here, we are going to look at this sentence in more detail. So what do we mean when we say finding enough? So in fact, if we look at the previous slide with the statistics, for each successful new drug, we see that there are more than 2,000 patients needed to test it. So probably the needed number of study participants will likely to be several thousand altogether, which is a lot. Importantly, many times when you engage in a specific trial, due to the inclusion and exclusion criteria, the ability or the possibility of being involved in another trial is excluded. So because of these criteria. And often the duration of the commitment with just one trial is extremely long. Sometimes you have to be engaged for a long, for a lifetime in only one study. So if you have a rare disease such as HD, all these factors can pose major problems, as the baseline number of people that can potentially participate in each study is already small by default. So these are some challenges. Let's look now at the second part of the sentence, right people. So one of the major goals of HD therapies, especially in the last years, is to find preventive treatment prior to the onset of disabling symptoms. So there has been an exponential increase of interest and need for people in pre-manifest stages to participate in research studies, because we want to stop or to find a treatment before the symptoms develop. However, several studies show that most individuals at risk for HD, so more than 80% of people at risk for HD, have not undergone predictive testing, so their HD status is unknown. Additionally, as Astri already said, both people at risk for HD and people with pre-manifest HD do not see themselves as patients, because obviously they do not show any symptoms. So they have usually little contact with the healthcare system, especially in relation to HD. So the right people in this case often is distant from the clinical units and HD teams, which might cause them to miss important research opportunities. So that's another challenge. So now let's look at the last part of the sentence, join up in clinical trials. First of all, it's important to understand the difference between joining up and signing up in clinical trials. Often when the EHA or other HD associations publish news about scientific progresses, ongoing trials, people begin to ask where they can sign up to be part of that trial. And it should be clear that there are many factors influencing whether someone can join up a specific study or not. And there are many things that are not related to the person's willingness or the person's wish to take part. And we are going to speak about some of these obstacles on the next slide. So to join up is not the same as to sign up. So, and this is especially true when we are speaking about drug trials. It's almost like if you sign up, you can sign up to a football club, so everyone is welcome. But to join up, it's kind of, you have to receive an invitation from that private club where you want to be a member. So it's more complicated. Additionally, there's another thing. So people will not only have to join up, but have to commit. So the problem is not only recruiting the right participants to clinical studies and trials, but also being able to retain them in the study for as long as needed. So to prevent them from dropping out. So we have to guarantee that the therapeutic misconceptions, misestimations are addressed, and that people have the right motivation to participate in research. So people should make well-informed decisions, and for that we have to give them all the information they need from the very beginning. So they should be well-informed about everything that will happen, the goods and the bads, the beautifuls and the uglies, before they decide to participate, so that they can give a truly informed consent to their participation. Besides all these challenges, as I said before, there are different obstacles, and let's call them obstacles. So there are things that can also influence the engagement of people in research, in HD research studies, and do not depend directly of the HD community. So we are speaking about things such as the national and international bureaucracy and legislations. For example, the legal context can explain why some countries are able to approve new therapies and studies at a much faster speed than others, or why some countries are able to provide free clinical care and social support to HD families, whereas in other countries that is just a dream. So the legal context is important and plays a role here. Another thing are the decisions taken by the different stakeholders involved in the trials. And this can also cause obstacles to the participation, starting with the pharma companies, for example, that sponsor the study and that might want this country or that site to be involved, but do not want that country or that site to be involved based on different criteria. So this also influences research participation. And among the different stakeholders, we also have the international and national regulatory agencies, the scientific and executive committees from hospitals and clinical units, or the HD site teams. And if we look closer at the HD site teams, we can see that factors such as time, money, physical and human resources play a role here. And so they influence the ability of the site to manage trials and influence the decision of the site to be part of a clinical trial. So many times the teams are not able to integrate the trial on their clinical care routine due to the shortage of time or resources. So this can also influence. So as you can see, and that was the main idea. There are several challenges and several obstacles and several factors that can influence research participation and that have nothing to do with the individual's wish or motivation to participate in research. So,
can I just drop in here, because Ariana has had a couple of very interesting and important comments in the chat. It's about, and you said something about it, but maybe you can underline it again. Who decides? I mean, she writes about somebody who wants to take part in a trial, but they don't live where there are any. It could be a study also like Enroll. So can you move? Who decides?
I think Enroll HD is a little different. So I think when I was talking about the difference between joining up or signing up, this is especially true for drug trials that have really strict criteria. So there are many things that are influencing your eligibility as a participant. So if, for example, things such as the number of CAG repeats sometimes influences, things such as taking antipsychotics, for example, people that take antipsychotics cannot participate. So things like that can be a problem or can influence your ability to join up that study. In Enroll HD, when I said it's a little different because it's more, it's less strict because you are not testing any drug. It's an observational study and everyone is pretty much welcome. It's as the metaphor I use is like the football club. So you are welcome. Whereas the drug trials are more like private clubs where you have to receive an invitation and you only receive the invitation if you have how do you say, an approval or a check in several criteria.
And it's also the case, I think, that the numbers are limited.
Yes.
So even if Enroll is abroad in terms of who they might want to come and sign up, they also have limited resources to how many they can manage
Yes.
to follow up and so to speak. So it's about being willing to show up if you invite me, if you have space around your table, so to speak. Huh?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Sorry for interrupting. Just
no. And please interrupt me because I tend to start speaking, and please interrupt me whenever you want. So what I was going to say is that, so taking all this into account, the challenges, the obstacles, where we are, it made sense for the European Huntington Association, and it was a logical next step to work on this. And so the EHA created this project moving forward to try to overcome the challenges and the obstacles. So in other words, the idea is to mobilize the HD community, and particularly people at risk or in a pre-manifest HD stage, to ensure that there is a continuous flow of people signing up to take part in research, and that there will not be unnecessary delays in clinical progress due to the slow recruitment of participants. So in other words, in more simpler words, what we want to do is to avoid not being able to find enough of the right people to join up the studies at the right time. And as we have already explained, the particular target or the particular people of this project are traditionally less involved in research. So people that are at risk or people that tested positive for HD but do not display symptoms. So our hypothesis is that these specific groups have different needs, worries, wishes than people that are already in a manifest HD stage. So therefore we need to understand what are the most important factors that motivate and influence their participation their willingness to participate in research or to attend to clinical visits or genetic visits. And only by understanding what are the motivations and influence in factors influencing this, can we plan the best ways to address the problems, the challenges, and change the situation when it's needed. So the project moving forward has 5 main goals, we can say that. So we want to move forward to 5 main directions. First of all, we want to increase trial awareness. And this seems obvious, but it's as simple as that, because people, those not aware of trials and of studies, cannot participate. It's as simple as that, but it's an important issue. So we want to increase this trial awareness. Another thing is that we want to increase health literacy and reduce things such as misconceptions and misestimations, because having the wrong information or expectations, we know that it will affect the capacity to take part in this process, to make appropriate health decisions, and to give a truly informed consent to participate in research studies. Another thing that we want to do is to reduce the impact of the perceived barriers to study participation. So things such as financial burden, time constraints, anxiety with testing. So all these are things that can prevent people from taking part in research. And so we need to address these issues and find solutions to them to try to improve the willingness of people to participate in research. And of course, we can only do this in collaboration with the sites, with the local HD associations, and with families. Another of the goals of this project is to build up the site team skills. So, because we believe that having a good communication and relation skills, these are key factors to really ensure that the specific needs of these groups are being understood and met. So we want to help to improve the team skills on how to communicate, welcome, and relate to study participants, and also to guarantee that there is a regular feedback about the study and how the study is experienced. Finally, what we want is to increase really the trial readiness. This is to say that when the first clinical trials that are designed to address pre-manifest HD stages are launched, for us it will be really important to anticipate all the factors that can pose a bottleneck to a fast and smooth recruitment of suitable participants. So we need to address barriers to participation. We need to ensure that there is a follow-up circuit and support to all the study participants. We have to try to maximize referrals and also promote outreach campaigns so that everyone is ready when the time comes. So how will we try to achieve this? So this project plans to have a team of patient advocates that will develop both face-to-face and web-based actions with all the different players. So because of the majority of the people that we want to engage in the project are people that are younger and have different needs and wishes and worries, some of our key actions will be peer-to-peer communication and dialogue, mostly using digital technology. And also it will be a key action to provide continuous emotional, social support to these specific groups. So moving forward is planned for 3 years. It will start with focus on the ground activities in 3 countries during the first year, and then expand to more countries in the following 2 years. A thing that it's important to say is that this action plan is not closed and it's extremely flexible. So this means that we will always try to adapt and accommodate all the inputs provided by all the members of the European HD community and include them in this plan as we move along. So the idea is to do that. And I'm almost finishing, but I would like to share with you what we have been doing during the last weeks and what we have reached so far. So we have been reading a lot to understand what has already been done in HD, but also what has already been done in other diseases such as Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease, about research participation, participant recruitment, participant retention, and ways to improve it. And particularly about engaging people in preclinical disease stages. Besides reading a lot, we also have been writing a lot. So we have been writing funding requests and proposals so that we can have a budget and support from different organizations and companies to really can do this project. Also, we have been talking a lot with HD specialists and experts from sites all over the world to learn from them. Why are they successful at engaging people at risk or in a pre-manifest HD stage? So to understand the factors that influence their good performance. And lastly, we have been hearing a lot from HD families, and we especially want to start hearing HD families in a more structured way. So to hear their perceptions and experiences about research participation in a more structured way. So we have developed a survey to start to do this. And the survey will be online, so you will be able to complete it online. It's really short. It will only take around 6 to 8 minutes to complete. And the survey is meant to be filled by people at risk for HD. So people that know, that do not know if they carry the genetic mutation, but know that are at risk for inheriting the disease. And it is also meant to be filled by people in a pre-manifest disease stage. So people that had a positive genetic test result, but do not show symptoms of the disease. And because of the great help and solidarity of the HD community, amazingly, we, in just 1 week, were able to have this survey available and translated into 10 different languages. So right now, the survey is available in Dutch, English, French, German, Italian, Norwegian, Polish, Portuguese, Russian, and Spanish. And 2 more languages are on the way, Romanian and Bulgarian. So this for us was, we were really happy with the good reception. And because we want to reach more and more people, please let us know if you would like to have the survey translated into your language, and we will send you the information to do this. It's a quite simple and straightforward process, and it will be extremely valuable to us. So please just say that to us, and we will be happy to send you the information. So this is me. So this is what I wanted to say about the project, about the background and the reasons of moving forward. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Filipa. A lot of thoughts and a lot of work have already been done, and things we need to investigate closer. And that's why also we made the survey. And we will, of course, publish that on the webpage and share in Facebook and send to you in the countries with the different languages. Is it possible to share in the chat the links to the survey? That's of course possible. Maybe we can do that, Maiken.
Yes. Just let me.
I think unless somebody have a comment they want to unmute themselves and just come up with on the spot now. I think it's time to have a short break. And then we will come back and we will get ahead with the discussion. And we have a few points we can, or questions or key factors we can bring up to get the discussion kick-started.
Okay.
We have a short question from Dina. I don't know if you want to take that now. But she asked, what is the distinction between pre-manifest and prodromal?
Prodromal. This is a never-ending discussion about the right definition, if it's pre-symptomatic, pre-manifest, prodromal. The Ralph Rallman, DHD specialist neurologist, has a really interesting, I can try to find the link and share it on the chat, explaining the differences between all these little or different definitions. But if you think of a timeline, usually pre-manifest is, how do you say, more away from the earlier onset moment than prodromal HD. So prodromal HD is closer to the onset of motor symptoms. And when we speak about onset, is the onset of motor symptoms, because we know now that there are subtle changes that happen before, but the clinical diagnosis is still the motor, the onset of motor symptoms. And so pre-manifest is more far away, if you want, and prodromal is more closer to that moment. But I will try to find the link to the paper.
Okay, thank you. That part I knew, but I wanted to know whether, because of everything that I know, I still don't think anybody's really answered whether there is a distinctive, points going from pre-manifest to prodromal. And I guess that's just a difficult point in somebody's timeline as they're progressing through the HD.
I think it's a bit like aging in a way. So it's a continuum. And depending on who you ask, are you an elderly person or are you a young person? Right. In a way, if you understand what I mean. Okay. Bea asked if we know where there are trials, and we do. And that's what's on the HD Trial Finder. We know about what trials is going on and where they are recruiting as soon as they have been public about that and are starting. But what we are discussing today is really about having pre-symptomatic then, or without clear symptoms, being involved in trials. And there are no such trials yet. But we definitely believe that there will be in the years to come.
I can put the links to the HD Trial Finder and also for the survey. I can put them during the break. I will do that. I will put it on the chat.
In the chat, so you can click there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much so far. And just stay with us, but we will mute ourselves, and Matthias has already shared the link to the Trial Finder. Thank you, Matthias. We will be back in 10 minutes. So on my watch, that's 7:57. See you in a bit. Okay. Good to see you. Very good to see you. So Barbara had a question, because you mentioned, Filipa, that we are thinking about doing the project at least from the beginning or early in 3 countries, because we're not able to do all places in once. And she asked, which countries is this?
Don't you want to answer that, Astri?
It's not being chosen yet. It's not being decided. It's also, of course, how many countries and a little bit maybe where we can do it is depending on the funding we are getting. But what's really the idea is to have Europe, different parts of Europe or different parts of our so-called, and then I include Russia and Israel and all our members, so to speak, in that. to have different parts spread. So I would say ideally Central Europe, obviously Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, and Northern Europe in a way. That's 4. But if you understand, that's the principle. Yeah. But nothing has been decided in relation to where and how we can get started yet.
But I think it would be interesting, just to add to what you're saying, Astri, I think it would be interesting to, as you say, to have different realities that could somehow represent more almost European regions, because for sure there are really huge differences between the north of Europe and the south of Europe, for example, or central, the east and the west. So ideally, it would be good to have countries that could represent broader regions.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we should go on.
Do you want me to share the screen?
Yes, because
okay.
you have a couple of questions or topics that we could concentrate on now, at least in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think are the main reasons for getting involved in research studies in Huntington's disease? And then again, we are thinking about especially at risk or people without any clear symptoms in Huntington's disease. So what could be the reasons for people, or what are the reasons, the way you see it, for people wanting to get involved? And then what are the reasons for people not wanting to get involved? I think Claudia already commented a little bit in the chat about a reason for not getting involved. But please, if you want to unmute yourself, I think we are not more people in here than we can manage to handle that you just step in, or you raise your hand if you want. In the bottom of the participant list, you can find a hand and raise, and we will let you pass the word over to you.
I think there are 2 big boxes, I would say. One group of people that doesn't want to know, they want to live their life and we'll see what happens. Fortunately, we have Roche in the future, and that's the main principle behind their mind. And the other group that says, I want to know, I want to participate, I want to do everything to be good. So I think that we have to approach more to the people that is decided to participate than to those that don't want. Really, they will not go because they don't want to know about HD. So that's, I think it's the point, not to find people, because when they are pre-symptomatic, they prefer to live their lives free of Huntington.
Thank you. Anybody who wants to comment on this? Thank you. Really good points. Sorry, Maiken.
No, I just said Rob raised his hand, but I don't know.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Please, Rob, come on.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think that's a good point made. Let's say, of course, you have to, let's say, chase. That's a bit bad use of wording. The people that really are interested, right? Also for retention. What I've noticed, and at least here, when I have some family members indeed that have been tested positive, for example, and they didn't even, let's say, they didn't even know about enroll. And they have gone through the testing, and they are actually very proactive and very open about their gene status. And they just didn't know. So only when they saw some Facebook posts from me, they sort of, and they are my family members, so they called my cousins, and they emailed me or WhatsApp me and said, hey, what is this and what can I do? And so I think the awareness of the studies prior to whoever you're going to chase is actually even more important, because if people don't know they can participate, then of course they will never participate. And then indeed afterwards there will be people that are in denial and they don't want to know. And of course these people are not the ones that we should bother with this. They have maybe a lot of issues for themselves to solve on top of a clinical trial thing. That is not something they are meant for, I guess. But I think the awareness before that comes, knowing that this exists.
I think really we are now into the core of what I initially said, actually, that this is not easy. Bea, can I ask you if you are there behind your black screen? Because you are at risk, which I was also many, many, many years. And you are now, I have to say, I may call you an elderly person. So this is about not knowing, not wanting to know.
Yeah, my experience during years and years is that people are afraid, really afraid that their private issues are not really safe, if you understand. That companies, insurance companies or banks can have their results. That's also one of the reasons that they will not test themselves. Before the test was there in the years ago, then everybody say, oh, we will do the test. The test was there and there was no response to do the test. It is really strange. And I think, of course, I'm old and for me it's no matter. But I think for the young people, it's very important that we can tell them how important it is that they do these studies and that they participate, because it's for them. It's not for us, not for me, because I'm old. So that's no reason that I do these effort. I done efforts years ago, but now but for them, for the young people, I think this is the future for them. So, and I think if nobody or less young people will participate, then they cannot find anything. It's the same as now for COVID-19. If there is no people who will do the test or who do the risk to test with medicines, then nothing can happen. So it's I think this is very important, and I trust the people who do the researchers. I think these are all very, very, very good people and who do it for the cure and not for the money.
Thank you, Bea. Dina, you had your hand up.
I think there will always be three groups of people. So ones don't want to talk about it, don't want to test, want to live their lives not knowing. Ones that are in the middle, hovering, don't know what to do, and ones who want to test, like me. I feel more in control, even though I know I have the gene, but that's my own personality. So there was no hesitation on my part in having the predictive testing when I found out about HD. I think we need to capture the group in the middle who are wavering about what to do. You can't pressure them, but you can make them more knowledgeable about what's out there and tell them, this is what's available. This is how you can participate. And maybe then you'll get more. But for the people who don't want to know about it and don't want to be tested, I think you have to respect their wishes also. And you can't pressure anybody into doing any of this. And this is where this is a very difficult subject in terms of what we're doing with this. And it's a very sensitive subject. I mean, I have two boys, like how Claudia was saying, who are at risk. We talk about HD, but they have chosen not to be tested, like yourself, Astri. And so I'm completely different to them also, and they're my family. So everybody's different in terms of this.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I can, sorry.
Valdo raised.
Yeah. Sorry. Mike, and you control the word then. Who's first?
Osvaldo is first.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you again, first of all. No, I was thinking about the question why to not participate to clinical research. And I believe that probably it is not even said sometimes that maybe a negative thought is the side effect of the medicine they are trying to provide you, because sometimes I saw also on the Facebook, I'm part of a group of people affected or somehow interested in Huntington's. And hopefully I saw there is a confusion between a cure and a medical trial. That is not the same thing, in my opinion. So that may be a reason why people can be afraid to participate to a clinical trial, especially if they are in the pre-manifest HD conditions. Because, I mean, maybe they can balance the pros and cons, and they don't want to take the risk to get a medicine that potentially we don't know which side effect may have.
Thank you. So the fear or the risk that you take by side effects or negative effects is something that keep people back.
It may be, especially I believe for the ones who are not experiencing any effect yet, even if being tested positive. I mean. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
It's both Anne and Barbara. I think you.
Then I think it's Anne.
Anne.
And we have Dina on the list.
And
Good.
then Dina, I will write it down.
Another thing is it depends on what is available in the country that you live in. If you live in a country that has no clinical trials, you have no chance of signing up for everything, especially when I saw in a previous comment that you have to do it in the country that you're in, that you cannot go abroad to do it. So if you are in a country, say like Ireland, you can go for a HD test, you can join enroll, and that's it. There are no options. So that will determine the level of participation that HD families will have in particular countries.
Of course, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a greater opportunity to really be invited to the table, the dinner party that we were comparing to, not just get dressed and get ready, but actually being sat down by the table, it's a bigger chance that you will be doing the effort.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then it's Barbara. You had a question?
Hi, I have just a comment, a thought I would like to share with you. I perfectly agree with Dina when she says that we have to pay a lot of attention in avoiding to push people to undergo genetic testing if they are not ready to do so. But in my opinion and in my experience, I think that what maybe we should try to do is to get younger people and at-risk people closer and closer to information and to knowledge, so they need not to feel scared as much as possible. So in my opinion, Enroll HD is a great opportunity because Enroll HD is a clinical trial, but it's not it's an observational trial. It's not a therapeutic one. So even people who are not affected, are not symptomatic, can participate. And in my opinion, participating in Enroll HD can give those kind of people the opportunity to, let's say, to become close to the research environment in a not traumatic way, because it's nothing very traumatic. It's very delicate. It's very normal, let's say, all the approach. And the other thing is that, in my opinion, local national association, as well as, of course, the European Association, can play a very important role, much more than clinics, because we are less scary than clinics for those kind of people. And maybe we may be seen as more, let's say, reliable, because we don't have any interest. I mean, we just, our aim is just to give them more information. So these two points, in my view, Enroll-HD from one side and the associations from the other side, may be some very practical, let's say, tools to approach this kind of people. And just lastly, a very quick comment on what Anne said about the fact that in her country, no clinical trial is available yet. I'm not sure about this, but I think that, for example, people from Ireland may be allowed to participate in clinical trials in other parts of the United Kingdom, because the language is the same. So maybe in that particular specific case, maybe that could be possible. I would try to deepen this. I'm not an expert, but I think that maybe in that case, that could be possible. Thanks.
Do you have a comment, Filipa?
Yes, I just wanted to reinforce the idea that Barbara said, and also Dina, and then, because I think it's one of the biggest things here is that it is the association that is starting this project. So it is it's the patient association that is promoting actions and making implementing initiatives to promote more research participation. And this is really, really important, that it's like this and not promoted by other people such as pharma companies or even clinics, because by doing this like this, there is no hidden agenda. So because we are here for the best, for all the families. So I think it's vital that at least in HD, it was the European Association, and for sure other associations, that are taking this matter in their hands. So it's and again, and just to comment, in Portugal, we only have Enroll-HD. So we are in the most isolated part of Europe, so it's difficult for us to participate. But nevertheless, I think Enroll-HD is a very good entrance door for everything, because for sure, if we have more participants in Enroll-HD, when the pharma companies and the decision makers choose the countries where they think that the clinical trials should be done, they will look to the Enroll-HD numbers also. So that's my opinion.
Thank you.
I think it's very important that we informed our members, our families, that this is from the EAH and not from the pharmaceutical industry or from the research, that this is from us for them.
Thank you. I wonder, some of you who still haven't taken the word, can I challenge you or ask you, do you have anything you want to say? Neriman, yes, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can I ask you, where are you?
I'm in Amsterdam.
Okay, so not so far away.
Not so far away, no. It's the first time I'm speaking here, and my English is not very, very good, but I would like to comment on the speakers and the whole thing told about it. I'm from a family with Huntington, and I lost a lot of people for Huntington. But the reason why people doesn't want to take a share of those trials is unknown. They don't know there are trials. Really, believe me, my family doesn't even heard a word about it. So when I involved with this whole things, I could give them information. They were so happy to hear about those trials. They said, why don't we know all those years? So there are people who doesn't hear about it, but there are also people who cannot take share of those trials because they have not the possibility to get involved with it. You understand me?
I think so. I think I understand you. Can I ask you, because your family members didn't know and you told, why didn't they know? I mean, the information is out there.
Okay.
Why didn't they know?
Can
you explain that?
Yeah, not everyone can read everything from internet. They didn't know about the information. Who can they search it or read it? Also, they haven't. The most important reason is my family has a closed door. They didn't want to get involved with nobody talk about Huntington because it was a shaming. It was a very, very ashamed illness. So they didn't go to get information, and when they were able to get information, they couldn't get information because they had not the same they were not really good in looking for information, or they were not really came in oh my goodness. It's very difficult to explain this because
But I think I understand you, Neriman, because what you're saying is that in part, some of them, or for a while, they didn't want to know because of fear and all these things. They stayed away. As Claudia also said, that's a coping strategy. It has to be acknowledged and respected as that. But on the other hand, when you came along with information they could understand at the time they were ready for it, they were really happy for that.
Happiest. So actually, they were so happy. They cried about that there was something who listened without they asking for information. You understand me? They didn't need to ask the information, but I came with the information and I told them about everything, what's going on in the world and everything about Huntington. And so they were so happy. They said, now we can ask things. Now we can get information. All my family who has with HD, they want to take share of the trials. They want to go to the everywhere where I want. They said, if you tell us we have to do this, we are going to do this.
Thank you.
You understand me what I mean?
Yes, thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you.
But it's also the culture.
Yeah, can also be.
It's
Matthias or Marco or anybody of your the others who want to say something. We are already running close to the time of the ending of this. It's extremely interesting.
Dina, I don't know if you had a question.
Oh, sorry. You're on mute.
Am I on word still or?
No, thank you, Miriam. I think. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I don't know.
I had a comment going back to something that Osvaldo said in terms of people who are pre-manifest to know their gene status and think, okay, I don't want to deal with any trials right now. I think this goes back to a comment I made in the chat, that we need to educate people that there is brain damage that happens many, many years before your clinical onset. And so if you want to have some sort of treatment, you need to target it early. And maybe people don't understand about the extent of the brain damage before onset.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true.
That's just my comment.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's right.
Yes, and then I don't have anyone, unless Matthias had a question. That's my list. But Anne, were raising your hand.
Oh, okay.
There is a very, very small group of people, but they are important nevertheless. And I feel every time I hear people talking about, and especially tonight, we were talking about pre-manifest, prodromal onset of motor symptoms. There are that group of people that do not develop motor symptoms. I know 2 people. And so if you are looking for motor symptoms only, you are missing this small group of people. My brother-in-law, my husband had very bad motor symptoms. His brother did not. He had more psychiatric. He had more paranoia. Another guy I know, it's paranoia, it's bullying behavior, but no motor symptoms. And so I feel that that is a small group of people that can be overlooked and forgotten, because you don't necessarily have to have motor symptoms straight away to be diagnosed with the onset of Huntington's.
No, thank you for that comment. I think for our project, when we are asking, for instance, in the survey for pre-symptomatic or at risk to respond, it's up to them to define. So it's not us doing a medical kind of evaluation of, are you really pre-symptomatic or do you have any kind of symptoms? It's up to them to decide, I don't really have symptoms, so I think I should be responding to the survey. And then again, in the trials, it will be the medical staff who decides if you can be categorized based on whatever kind of testing they would do. Christina, please. You are on mute. You need to unmute.
Can you hear me?
We can hear me, yes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Well, I just want to say now 2 things, as I think there are, those things will come up as soon as we start doing the surveys and having the possibility of treating people in a very, very pre-manifest and early days. And those things that concern me are not the country of the treatment, because I think as soon as we start the treatment early, we are moving to larger population, and well, mobility and professional mobility and changing homes, it's a very, very common thing between non-patient persons. So I think the criteria will change for pharma, and they will have to consider the possibility of people changing residences for their lives for 10 years or so. So I think as soon as we move to that step to treat pre-manifest person for a long time, we will see changes in the way they are addressing now. Also, I think one thing that concerns me is if we are treating early and pre-manifest, we are revealing the status of those who don't want the status to be revealed. If my daughter would be treated for Huntington, for example, and would start to have those treatments in their early 18 or 20 years, that immediately would spot a line on my own disease. It's not a matter of being tested or not being tested. It's a matter of companies and mortgages and all the reasons of practical life and all the insights that we have among the disease. And I'm concerned about that as well. So it's not only the fact that perhaps more people would be willing to be tested. It's also the fact that there are still people who doesn't want to know and don't want to know and don't want to be tested. And they have to be protected as well, because as soon as we start testing, teenagers, we will, not teenagers, a 20-year person, we will start revealing all the past. And I think as associations, we would concern that as well. Mobility doesn't matter for me, because I think the pharma companies will have a way of dealing with that. Also, decisions like having kids, not having kids, and well, will interfere in that. So
thank you, really.
I think we are doing a fantastic job.
Well, thank you. And I think it's really good points you're bringing up, because what's really my take-home message now, because we have to round up and finalize, is that we have people who don't want to know, don't want to test, and that should definitely be respected. What I think is that what I hear from my many years active in the community is that more people are open about their genetic status for reasons that must be that they feel it's safe enough. So it's not that they proclaim it in the newspapers, but they can share it at least in the community. And that's, I think it's not something I need or I would ask from everybody, but I think it's great that people feel it's safe. And that's really what we want to achieve with this project, is to create a more space environment for more people to take the choices that can be good for them, but obviously also good for us in the long run, as you say. And I'm really concerned what you're saying, Christina, that we want to keep the hands on the wheel on this. We don't want to leave this to pharma, because we have fear that that could not be, safe enough in the sense of taking care of people's needs. But we who understand its needs from our heart, we are much better positioned to take care of people. So that's also an important part of this, us keeping the hands on the wheel and running the race, so to speak, or really being in charge. So I just want to say thank you so much, everybody. It's been extremely interesting, and the discussion will continue for sure. The decisions will be made as long as we go along this project, and I just want to hug you all and say thank you, and I look forward to do this project.
Thank you for organizing this webinar, and thanks a lot also to Filipa.
Yes, sure. Thank you. Great job as always, my dear friend Filipa. And thank you for participating. Thank you for your time, and have a very good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.